The Minnesota Timberwolves. What's next? What is the future? What is going on with the Minnesota Timberwolves coming into the 2024-2025 season? Because there's this talk about cap restrictions or maybe a cap strain going into the luxury tax. Do they want to do that? You still probably got this, ongoing battle. It may be over. It may not be over between the owners, between A-Rod and the current owner of the Minnesota Timberwolves. But then also we've seen, what happened in this Western Conference final with the T-Wolves and how they got dismantled by the Dallas Mavericks. So roster moves. Are we doing anything with the roster moves? So there's a lot of questions that's there that needs to be answered for the T-Wolves. And I'm going to start with the roster first, right? And I know people are talking about Karl Anthony Towns. I've heard people talking about trading Karl Anthony Towns and keeping Naz Reid and putting Naz Reid, into that starting position. Now, Naz Reid coming off a sixth man of the year. Here's what I'm going to say about that, though. These are the questions that you have to ask yourself. And maybe the answer is put Naz. I'm not 100% sure of that. And here's why, is that we criticize Cat Williams for that 1-2 punch and for some of the things that he was doing in that finals, and actually some of the things that he was doing in the just in the playoffs in general. You push someone into coming off a role that they're playing on the bench, and then they are put into, you have to be the number 2, you have to be that, or 1A 1B to Ant-Man. That's not an easy transition for anybody. So I don't know if Naz Reid is just plug and play, on this. And I'm going to use a football analogy. We've seen guys plenty of times at the wide receiver position. They're the second wide receiver. They're eating, and then they move on to another team to be the number 1 wide receiver, and it's a different experience. So coming off the bench, going to the starting role, and also needing to be the sidekick or the complement to Anthony Edwards, that's a big ask for someone. We don't know if Naz Reid is that type of person or that type of dude. Now, obviously, he would take on that role. Don't get me wrong, but that's not a foregone conclusion that's just going to, that's going to work out. I think it's better just to try and with Cat seeing what he did and make those make those improvements over the off season and try and keep together your nucleus of your team. Now, Rudy Gobert, that's another question mark, right? In the playoffs, because the defensive player of the year, the thing I say about that's a regular season award, because Rudy is not going up against top competition night in and night out as far as like elite playoff competition. We saw what that was, here in the playoffs. So you just got to figure out. I don't know if moving Rudy is the answer. Maybe that is. If you're forcing me to move someone, I'm probably going to move Rudy before I move Cat. Matter of fact, I am going to move Rudy before I move Cat, because we saw Rudy really doesn't have a offensive type of game. It's more of him improv, and that's what it looks like. Looks like he's improv with this team. So I think you run it back. You had some success. You got to the Western Conference final. You know what you need to do. It was a learning lesson because you went out there and you got, dismantled by the Mavs, and you come back and maybe add another piece here or there, 1 or 2 pieces, and then I just say run it back. Run it back. See, what's the worst that could happen for the Minnesota Timberwolves, right? They go back to being bad. Oh my. I mean, that's the same thing with my Detroit Pistons. What's the worst? We go back to going bad. Oh my. We've been struggling for years. So yeah, let's roll this dice. And y'all billionaires, I'm talking about the owners, hey, pay that money and let's see, what happens again, next year. But